So I'm Jim Benson, and we're here today to talk about visual management, how to use lean techniques to help individuals and groups communicate better and manage their work better. My background really quickly is I started off as an urban planner and transportation engineer. So I started building really large things like subway systems and freeways and cities. And I did that for about 15 years until I started my own software company. And we did basically rescue missions for government. So government would have large software projects that they had given to a consultant or to an outside vendor. That vendor didn't complete the work, but they spent most of the money and most of the time. And we would have to come in and very quickly deliver the value or as close to the value as they originally expected in a very short period of time. And that meant that we had no time for errors. We had no time for lapses in judgment. So we started to develop things that allowed immediate communication, not just between us, but between us and our clients. And that worked really well. We were quite successful at that. And we were so successful that after a time, I sold the company and started Modus Cooperandi to specifically continue to develop these ideas. So in Lean, there's a concept called a Gemba, and the Gemba is where the work happens. It's where it's the shop floor, and it's very sensitive. No, there it goes. Is the shop floor. So when managers notice a problem, they have two choices. They can sit in their offices and imagine a solution and then go off to solve the problem, or they can go to the Gemba. They can go directly to where the people are working and watch what they're doing and talk to them about how they do it, then start to formulate solutions to the problems that they're seeing. In knowledge work, it's very hard for us to go to the Gemba because the Gemba is in our heads. Knowledge work happens within the brain. So if I come and I watch you typing, I can't see what you're doing, and I don't know how to help you. So knowledge work is, by its very nature, it's invisible. And that invisibility makes it very difficult to estimate. There's a high degree of variation in the work, which means that as we're working, things that are unexpected happen often. Our work is inventive. Our work is creative. And we try and solve these problems of high variation and difficulties in estimation by coming up with extremely detailed methodologies to develop and release work. So in software, right now, the major methodology that we see is Scrum. So Scrum sets up a very rigid set of steps and a very rigid set of roles that says, here's how software should be built. By and large, if someone comes to you and says, I have a way to manage your software project that worked in all of these others and these best practices will work for you, they're snake oil salesmen. Because we have so many different changing contexts. The people on our teams are different. The technologies that we're using are different. The clients are different. The delivery mechanisms are different. Those all change how we deliver software, what we need to know when and why. So we end up with all of these assumptions about how our work is supposed to be done in the team. And that means that everybody has different interpretations about how we work when things are completed and when they should be done. So our projects end up spinning out of control. And what we need to do is be able to see the process. We need a Gemba. We need a place to go where everybody can look at what's happening and have a shared understanding of the work that's being done. We don't need to have status meetings. We don't need to discuss certain features in detail. We simply need to be able to see the work as it's happening. We need a simple system so that knowledge work, so that software development, so that IT, so that the conversations between IT and the rest of the organization or the customers can thrive. So we need to see our work. We need to see how it flows. As individuals, we need to focus on what we're doing. We need to understand what our value stream is. So the value stream is how we create value. And we need to keep this system simple and visual. So very quickly, I'm going to my desktop here. And there we go. And here we see simplest visualization of knowledge work possible. We have a value stream up here, which is ready, doing, and done. These are the steps that we take to create value. So this is stuff I haven't done yet, stuff I'm working on, and stuff that I've completed. When we don't visualize our work, we hold all those tasks in our heads. So when we hold them in our heads, we're doing all of the options analysis on what we should do next in our heads. So we have right now, everybody listening to this has expectations that's been placed on them by their spouses, by their bosses, by their coworkers, by themselves, by their clients. And those are all jumbled up in your brain. And you're constantly trying to figure out, what do I need to do next? Who do I need to do it for? Who has the most political weight? What can make me the most money? Needs to be done before other things? What deadlines are coming up? And that's a lot of variables for our brains to process at any given point in time. So what we want to do is write down on Post-it notes or in a tool like this, all of the things that we have to do, and we populate a backlog with that. That's step one. We want to visualize our work. Step two is we want to limit our work in process. So over here, you'll see that when I start doing some work, I have a limit of 3. I've pulled 3 things in, and I can't do anything else, getting into trouble for it. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I know I should only be doing 3 things. The reason that we want to be doing 3 things is because we want to focus on what we're doing and want to run afoul of something that's called the Zeigarnik effect. And the Zeigarnik effect tells us 2 things. The first thing is that when we finish something like that, closure, we feel good and we move on. But when we don't finish things, we don't. We're stuck in a world where we have too much work and we're constantly thinking about all those tasks. So if all of these tasks in ready were actually in doing, we would be thinking about all of those tasks, the state they were in, who they were due for, what collaborations we'd gone through to get them done, how much trouble we're going to be in if we don't finish them soon. There's a lot of stress, a lot of information that we're carrying around in our heads once we start tasks. So I'll come back to the board in a little bit. We'll go back over here really quickly. Is, in a nutshell, the simplest way that we've come up with at any rate to visualize work. And why do we want to do that? Why do we want to do that at all? So the grandfather of Lean, W. Edwards Deming, has something that you see here at the beginning of called the system of profound knowledge. And it has 4 key elements. And I like to use these elements to not only define how to set up a good project, but also basically to define the basic bedrock of what Lean actually means. So we need to understand that when we start a project and we set aside a bunch of things that we want to do, we start setting up our processes, we start setting up our procedures, that we're building systems. And those systems they are